Welcome one, welcome all. Waldo here, back with another video, this time on my favorite build in the Division 2. There are what seems to be like a limited number of gear sets, but endless playstyles and many different types of weapons in this amazing game. I'm going to break down just a few of these in this video. First, I'd like to say if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. I'll be putting out a Division video every week or so and would really appreciate the help and support. And so without further ado, let's begin. So first off, I would say I had a couple of different parameters when trying out this build. For one thing, I was stationed at the White House, at the shooting range, which is beneath the building, and I was just shooting at the DPS targets, using all of my ammunition on the targets, and then got an end result with the DPS. I was maxed out with the specialization for Sharpshooter because of the rifle damage increase and the headshot damage. And here is my result. With the rifle DPS, I ended up getting about 842,713.8 DPS. And with the marksman rifle DPS, I got around 470,565.6 DPS. The main reason why you want to be in Sharpshooter Specialization is because of the 25% increase to headshot damage. You also want to be in the Sharpshooter Specialization for the 15% increased rifle damage, the digital scope for the marksman rifle, and the talent round after round. These all tie into the build and synergize with the weapons I'm about to show you. So first and foremost, let's head down to the shooting range, and I'll show you how the magic happens. So I started every time with named elites because it was the hardest one to get down. And before I begin, I'm going to just show you what weapons I have equipped so you can take a look at the different skills and different talents. So my main weapon is going to be a Police Mark 17, which with all mods equipped has 42.9 thousand damage, 275 rounds per minute, and a 20 magazine size. Now, the perks on a weapon can make or break its damage, and I found one with Ranger, which gives you a 2% weapon damage every 5 meters you are from the target. And while at the shooting range, the targets change distance every time you move to the next target. It also has 15% weapon handling, which is great for stability and control. The mods that I used for this weapon was the C79 scope, which does 15% damage to elites, and minus 20% reload speed. We aren't really interested in the reload speed because the Sharpshooter Specialization increases reload speed by 30%. So even after this nerf or this decrease, I'm only getting about 5% increased reload speed from the specialization. The next one would be the weighted 7.62 magazine, which increases stability by 20% and decreases optimal range by 20%. I found that stability was the best for landing consistent headshots, best for hitting accurate laser beam shot to the face. Optimal range isn't that big of a factor, and having it around half the distance of 100 yards, which equals about 150 feet, is still a pretty large distance. I also opted for the angled grip, which increases stability by yet another 15% and lowers accuracy by 8%. This accuracy decrease isn't really that noticeable, especially if you're spamming the trigger to snipe headshots on a peeking enemy. I usually stick with the angled grip most times with my weapons. And lastly was the large suppressor 7.62. The reason I chose this was because the hit to elite damage isn't that big, and with the 20% increase in accuracy, it really makes up for the decrease in elite damage by giving the weapon a quick snap back to the target. And if you're unaware of what accuracy actually does for a gun, it is the time that the circle in the center, when it moves up, it's the time it takes to get back to the center. So we're still at a relatively good marker, kind of being at about 70% or so, maybe 65% accuracy total. So it's really nice when you're starting to fire with this weapon. Also, to synergize with this build, I am going to be using a marksman rifle. You're more than welcome to use any other secondary weapon. Some people prefer Chatterbox. Other people prefer Merciless. But personally, I like the M44 carbine. So it has a max damage of 86.3 thousand. It has a rate of rounds per minute about 55, and it has 6 shots in the magazine. For the mods on this, I use the digital scope that's provided by the Sharpshooter Specialization, which increases the headshot damage by another 45% on top of the 138% that you normally get with a marksman rifle. And I'm unable to use this first talent because I have more than 5 of the red circles, the red crosshairs. So if I get that lowered, my damage is going to be increased significantly. I also use the underbalanced integrated spring, which increases damage to elites, because I'm mainly going to be using this weapon to get the headshots from afar and also try to kill the target before they get into cover. So after every shot, when we have to manually reload, it's not that important to stay connected to the target, because you fire and then you reload and then you're down the scopes again. And then finally, I use a laser pointer to increase the 10% critical strike damage, or 10% critical hit chance, excuse me. So because of that, I can personally, you can go with anything that you really want to, but I felt it was necessary to have a higher crit chance and a little bit of lower stability for this type of a weapon, because getting those crits means less shots from other weapons to kill the targets. So taking a look at my gear stats, you notice that I have a 30% increase total to damaging elites. That can obviously be increased by a lot more, but just while making this video, it was clearly enough for me. And since we are stacking headshot damage in the majority of the time, we'll be fighting tough elites, I felt it was necessary to have some of the extra damage come from the talents. So total, with everything, I have 19.5 crit chance, 82% crit hit damage, 114% headshot damage, 65% accuracy, and 65% stability. Now, this is just with the Police Mark 17, which is just the rifle. And when I switch to my carbine, you can see that the headshot damage skyrockets. Now I'm at about a 30% critical hit damage, or chance, 67% critical hit damage, 237% headshot damage, with minus %20 accuracy and minus 20% stability. So let's see how this runs in the shooting range. Usually with the Police Mark 17, it's about 6 to 5 headshots per kill. And these are on named enemies. So these are the tougher enemies that are named something different, or that have white text above their name showing that they're more of an elite enemy. And especially with the carbine that I have, it's about 2 shots a kill. 2 shots per headshot. So it's really, really nice. So let's see what it looks like with the rifle equipped. We've got the named enemies on the difficulty, and then let's start it. So I pull out my rifle, got to reload, make sure that there's one in the chamber. So there's 6 shots there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can even try it going faster, shooting at a faster pace. That little circle in the middle barely moves. It's really nice to have that stability to get your shots off correctly. Because if you don't have a very high stability, your gun will bounce up and down when you fire a shot, and your aim will also move when you're holding the down aim sight button. So make sure you're in a good position to get those headshots. And this is just ramped up. The DPS is getting higher and higher and higher. 649,000. 662. So after every target, we're moving up about, I would say, about 10,000 DPS, which is pretty significant. Going through the entire clip of ammunition, we end up getting about 840,000 DPS total. And now with the marksman rifle, this is where the real powerhouse damage starts to come into play. So you notice I don't have very much movement on my accuracy. It's not moving around like all the other ones seem to do sometimes. So this is really nice to have. But with almost a 500,000 or almost a 600,000 damage per hit, it absolutely decimates any elite target, any named target, any target really that you come into contact with. Getting these headshots is real business. Even body shots still does enough damage. 2 shots per named elite that you hit. And the perk round after round, which is essential to the marksman rifle build, gives you 5 rifle ammunition every 10 seconds. And normally, I never run out of ammo when I'm using the marksman rifle, when I'm trying to fire at a named enemy or other enemies in general. You'll see at the bottom, it says 5 rifle ammo and 2 marksman rifle ammo. That is essential for this build because you won't run out of ammo and you won't have to worry about going out of cover to try and pick up more ammunition. So with this one, it's very nice because the damage last hit is almost about 500,000, which is very close to the actual DPS. So you're getting a lot of good output from these 2 weapons. Now, with other weapons, there comes gear sets. Now, this video was made before April 5th. So once April 5th comes out, World Tier 5 will release, as well as the gear score cap increasing. And there will also be 6-piece sets coming out as well. So this is done if you are in lower world tiers, if you're progressing through the game a lot slower than other people who might want to get up to the top level quicker. So you just need to remember that this is done for every other lower, or it can be used for World Tier 4, which is what I'm currently in right now. Now, the gear sets that I used for this build was a 3 out of 3 Douglas and Harding with a mask, knee pads, and a holster, which gives 5% accuracy, 10% critical hit damage, and 7% critical hit chance. I also used 2 out of 3 of the Wald0e holdings, which gives another 10% accuracy, and 10% headshot damage. Since we are going to be going for majority of headshots with these weapons, it's crucial to have headshot damage. Now, you can swap marksman rifle damage for something else if you'd like to, but I don't really recommend it because you're not really using the marksman rifle for its damage. You're using it for more of its headshot damage, which turns into different meaning when you stack marksman rifle damage. The feeling I get when I look at this build is I have a weapon that has 20 rounds in it, that can fire quickly, can headshot precisely, and also you can use blind fire covering. So it's easier if you want to use a blind fire cover. And that doesn't have a very good aim. But about 2 rounds, about 2 clips, usually gets through about a named target, which is really nice. I've seen a lot of other weapons take 3 or 4 clips in order to get through a named enemy. And then finally, the last gear piece that I have is just one piece set of the Overlord armaments, which increases the rifle damage by 10%. Because the rifle damage is a lot lower than the marksman rifle, this is really going to improve how much damage we put out with the rifle. And so looking at the skills that I have, I did a little bit of research and found that the Seeker Mine was most likely the best choice. One, because it's on a low cooldown, 85 seconds. Two, I use the Airburst Seeker Mine, which essentially catches all the enemies on fire within the radius. So when you catch an enemy on fire, they're pulled out of cover, they are incapacitated, if you will, and thus you have an easier shot of getting a headshot, which in turn leads you to killing the target a lot quicker. Now, this build is absolutely nasty in PvE content if you want to clear out waves of enemies before they even set up camp and blow through content at lower world tiers. And because it's so good, I usually start off with the marksman rifle first. And then I'll switch to the rifle and finish off a target if I need to. The second skill that I used was the reinforced chem launcher. And the reason I used this was because with 3 charges on a 15-second cooldown per charge, it really helps with getting your life back up. It's not used while you're moving or on the go, like the drone is, like the healing drone is, like this one. With a cooldown of 180 seconds, you're going to want to be using your healing a little bit more frequently, especially if you're staying in one spot for a limited amount of time. So make sure that you figure out which would be best for you. The Hive is also very nice as well, but with a 240-second cooldown, about 4 minutes, it really makes a huge difference as compared with the chem launcher. So with this build, I essentially can get through challenging missions by myself, solo, and I do absolutely insane damage when I'm in groups because I'm far back. I'm able to pick off targets before they get to me, and on top of that, I don't have to worry about reloading any ammunition because it's automatically reloaded with the marksman rifle talent round after round. So that's my video. If you're going for headshots and or you want a single fire weapon, I found what works very well while going solo. Just be sure to watch out for the rushers and the exploders, okay? See you guys in the next one.